off. The Duke of Sussex's needless legal action against the world's most read newspaper, the Daily Mail, is falling apart. Harry's in big trouble right behind me in the Royal Courts of Justice.
If you need to do that, or you want to do that, or you choose to do that, well, that is a choice.
There is a moment in every family dispute, and it doesn't matter whether it happens in a palace or an ordinary home, when the person who has been patient finally stops being patient. When the tolerance runs out, when the goodwill that has been extended again and again over years of disappointment and provocation reaches its absolute limit. And what replaces it is not anger exactly. It is something colder than anger, something more final. For King Charles III, that moment arrived on the morning of March 4th, 2026. He had just come from a visit to the Northwood Permanent Joint Headquarters, a military facility north of London, a place of discipline and duty, and exactly the kind of serious institutional purpose that Charles has spent his entire reign trying to embody. He had been there deliberately, not because the timing was coincidental, but because he had known, before he left that morning, what was waiting for him back at the palace. A document. $59 million. Sent by his son's legal team in California. And when he read it, when King Charles III read the itemized breakdown of what Prince Harry was demanding that his own father pay, his response was swift, it was cold, and it was final. He would not pay a single penny. Not now, not ever. Not 1 cent of the $59 million that Harry's team had calculated, item by item, as the price of what they called his sacrifice for the crown. And with that refusal came a statement that palace sources are describing as the most direct and unsparing thing Charles has ever said publicly about his younger son. He called it a suicide mission. Today we are going to tell you the full story of what happened on March 4th, 2026. The $59 million bill. The extraordinary list of charges that Harry sent to Buckingham Palace. The King's response. The collapse of Harry's court case in London. The betrayal that nobody saw coming. And what Meghan Markle quietly did while all of this was unfolding. A move that tells you everything you need to know about where things truly stand in that California household. We are going to take our time with this. We are going to explain every piece of it clearly, because this is a complicated story and you deserve to have it told properly. So settle in and let's begin. To understand what happened on March 4th, you have to go back a little. You have to understand what Prince Harry was doing in London and why he was there. Because without that context, the $59 million bill, extraordinary as it is, doesn't fully make sense. Harry had been in London for a court case, a lawsuit he had brought against Associated Newspapers Limited, the company that publishes the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday, two of the most widely read newspapers in Britain. Two publications that Harry has blamed for years for what he considers an orchestrated campaign of illegal intrusion into his private life. The lawsuit was, by Harry's own description, the most important legal battle of his life. He had said publicly, more than once, that he believed he would win, that he would change the face of British media, that victory was not just possible, but inevitable. He had staked enormous amounts of money on this case. He had hired one of Britain's most expensive and most celebrated media lawyers, a man called David Sherborne, whose fees are, by any standard, extraordinary. He had assembled a large team of researchers and legal assistants. He had spent years building what he believed was an airtight case. And then, on the morning that Harry's key witness took the stand, everything fell apart. The witness's name was Gavin Burrows. He was a private investigator, and Harry's legal team had described him, in the months leading up to the trial, as the smoking gun, the insider, the man who was going to stand in that courtroom and confirm under oath that the Daily Mail had spent years conducting illegal surveillance on Harry and his associates, intercepting phone calls, compiling hit lists of his friends, gathering private information through methods that were not just unethical, but criminal. That was what Harry's team had promised the court Burrows would say. What Gavin Burrows actually said was something very different. Standing before the judge, under oath, Burrows did not confirm Harry's allegations. He dismantled them, piece by piece, with what observers described as surgical precision. He retracted everything he had previously told Harry's team. He told the court that the documents he had provided, the ones at the very heart of Harry's case, were not genuine records of illegal activity. They were fabrications, created, Burrows admitted, because he was in severe financial difficulty and had been encouraged, his word, by people connected to Harry's legal operation to produce material that would support the narrative they needed to, present in court. He had been promised a book deal. He had been promised a consultancy fee. The money would only come if his testimony led to a big settlement or a victory for Harry. He told the court, in the words that have since been replayed across every news outlet in Britain, "I was a man looking for a way out, and I was told exactly what the truth needed to look like. It wasn't the truth, it was a script." The courtroom, by all accounts, went very still when he said that. Harry, who had been described by those present as confidently pacing the corridors just 48 hours earlier, was seen by witnesses near his legal team as visibly shaken, pale, trembling slightly, staring at a man he had counted on as his greatest asset, as that man destroyed the foundation of everything he had built. Now, if this is your first time watching this channel, and you want to follow this story all the way through to its conclusion, because there is considerably more still to come, please hit the subscribe button right now. We cover the royal family in the depth and detail these stories deserve, and we want to make sure you don't miss a single development. Subscribing takes just a moment, and it means every new video comes straight to you. The collapse of Gavin Burrows' testimony was devastating enough on its own, but it was not the only blow Harry received in that courtroom. The Daily Mail's defence team called their own witness. Her name is Rebecca English. She is the Daily Mail's royal editor, a journalist with decades of experience covering the royal family, a woman of considerable reputation in British media. And what she told the court directly contradicted one of Harry's central allegations. Harry had long maintained that a story published in 2004, a story about his relationship with a young woman called Chelsea Davy, which included intimate details of a conversation that had taken place around a campfire in Botswana, could only have been obtained through illegal phone hacking. He had used this story for years as evidence of the Daily Mail's criminal behaviour. It was, he had said, proof of how deeply they had invaded his private life. Rebecca English's testimony stripped that claim down to its bare reality. The intimate details from that campfire conversation, she told the court, had not been obtained by any form of illegal surveillance. They had been provided to the newspaper's news desk by a member of Harry's own social circle, someone who knew him personally, someone he trusted. That person had called the newspaper and reported what Harry had said. Not a hacker, not a phone tap, not a spy in the bushes. A friend, or someone Harry had believed was a friend. The betrayal, as English described it to the court, had come not from a computer server. It had come from inside the gilded social circle Harry had surrounded himself with as a young man. The implications for Harry's case were severe. Because if the information in the 2004 story came from a personal contact rather than from illegal activity, then one of his cornerstone examples of media criminality had just been reduced to an example of personal betrayal, something deeply unpleasant, but not something that the Daily Mail could be held legally responsible for. By the time the first week of serious testimony had concluded, legal analysts were not describing Harry as a man on the verge of a historic victory. They were describing him as a man standing at the edge of a financial precipice. And it was in that context, the case crumbling, the key witness discredited, the costs mounting, the anticipated $50 million settlement vanishing like smoke, that Harry's California legal team made the decision that has since been described by royal commentators as the most extraordinary thing any member of the royal family has ever done. They sent a bill to Buckingham Palace. Let's talk about that bill, because the details of it matter, and they are by any measure astonishing. The total was $59 million. Addressed to the Keeper of the Privy Purse, the official who manages the King's private finances. Delivered by courier to the palace on the morning of March 4th, 2026. The itemized breakdown, according to sources close to the Royal Treasury who have spoken to trusted journalists, reads like nothing anyone in the palace had ever seen before. $15 million for David Sherborne and his legal team. The multi-year retainer, the army of researchers, the thousands of hours spent in preparation, including, the palace noted pointedly, the hours spent working with the evidence that had just been confirmed in open court to be fabricated. $12 million described as an ANL indemnity fund. In plain English, this was Harry demanding that his father pay in advance for the legal costs that Harry expected to be ordered to pay to the Daily Mail once the judge delivered his verdict. He was not just asking Charles to cover his own expenses. He was asking him to cover the money Harry owed to the very newspaper he had spent years attacking. $10 million listed as an honour restoration charge. This was a figure that Harry's team had apparently calculated as the market value of Harry's personal effort in defending the Windsor name against media intrusion. He had, his team argued, spent years of his life and enormous personal resources in this fight. The Crown had benefited from that fight. Therefore, the Crown should pay him for his time. $5 million for private security during his London visits. Security arrangements that Harry needed because the British government had withdrawn his publicly funded protection, a decision that had been made by the courts in a separate legal case that Harry had also lost. He was now asking his father to privately fund the security that the state had declined to provide. And finally, and this is the figure that left palace officials reportedly speechless, $17 million described as opportunity cost and income compensation. Harry's argument was that the time and energy he had devoted to this court case had prevented him from pursuing lucrative production and commercial projects in Hollywood. He was, in effect, asking King Charles to compensate him for the entertainment deals he had failed to secure because he had been too busy with his lawsuit. $17 million for projects he had not done, for income he had not earned. When the document was summarized for senior palace officials that morning, one source described the reaction in the room as a long silence followed by the kind of disbelief that is too profound even for words. Charles read it. He considered it, and then he authorized a statement. The statement was delivered through a senior palace official, and it said, in terms that left absolutely nothing open to interpretation, the following: the private legal crusades of a non-working member of the royal family, conducted against the express advice of the Crown, are the sole responsibility of that individual. To suggest that the British public or the sovereign's private estate should subsidize a venture built on questionable evidence is not only legally without foundation, it is morally reprehensible. And then, separately, the King was quoted directly. He said, "This is a suicide mission." The British monarchy has no obligation, no responsibility, and will not pay a single penny toward debts arising from Harry's personal grievances and his stubbornness. Those who throw themselves into the fire cannot demand that others compensate them for their own burns. Those who throw themselves into the fire cannot demand that others compensate them for their own burns. Read that sentence again, because that is a father talking, not just a king. That is a man who has watched his son make a series of decisions that he warned him against, publicly and privately, over a period of years, and who has now reached the point where there is simply nothing left to say except the plain truth of what has happened. You chose this, you were warned, and the consequences are yours. The financial rejection was total, but it was not, it turned out, the only significant development of March 4th, 2026. Because while Harry was absorbing the palace's refusal in London, something else was happening inside the royal family, something personal, something that those who know Harry well have since described as the blow that hurt more than all of the legal and financial catastrophes combined. His cousin Beatrice had gone to the king, not with sympathy for Harry, not to advocate for him or to soften the palace's position. She had gone with evidence, a digital dossier, a collection of encrypted messages and emails that she had been holding for some time, and that she had now, for reasons we are going to explain, decided to hand over to Charles's private secretary. What those messages revealed was this: in the latter part of 2025, Harry and his uncle Prince Andrew, two men who had each in their different ways found themselves pushed to the outer edges of the royal family, had formed what sources are describing as a coordinated retaliation pact. Both of them felt discarded. Both of them felt that Charles had treated them unjustly. And both of them had apparently agreed, through a series of private communications, to synchronize their legal and public attacks on the palace in a way that would overwhelm the institution's communications teams and force the king into making concessions. Harry's role in the plan was to win his court case against the Daily Mail, securing a large settlement that would provide both the moral leverage and the financial resources to fund a shared campaign. Andrew's role was to hold firm in his refusal to vacate Royal Lodge, the home he had been occupying against the expressed wishes of the palace, while Harry's victory provided the pressure that would force Charles to negotiate. It was, in the language of the messages that Beatrice handed over, described by Harry himself as a pincer movement, two fronts simultaneously, too much for the palace to manage at once. The plan collapsed for one simple reason. Harry's case did not produce a victory. It produced Gavin Burrows. And the moment the case began to self-destruct in court, The financial war chest that was supposed to fund the joint operation simply did not materialize. Beatrice's decision to share this information with the king was not made lightly. Those who know her say it was made out of self-preservation, a recognition that by continuing to protect Harry's secret coordination with her father Andrew, she was tethering her own future to a situation that was rapidly becoming irretrievable. Andrew had been arrested in February 2026 in connection with newly unsealed documents related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. His position was as precarious as it had ever been. And Beatrice understood that if the palace discovered through any other means that she had known about the pact between Harry and Andrew and said nothing, the consequences for her and for her sister Eugenie would be severe. And so she went to the king, and she told him what she knew. For Harry, when he discovered what had happened, when he understood that the cousin he had trusted, the cousin who had been one of the last remaining threads connecting him to the family he had walked away from, had gone to the king with his private messages, the impact was described by those around him as devastating. He had believed that Beatrice was his, that she understood him, that she was, if not fully on his side, at least not on the other side. He was wrong. Let's take a brief pause here, because we are at the halfway point of this story and there is still a great deal to get through. If you are watching this on television or on your device, and you want to make sure you receive everything we publish on this story going forward, please take a moment right now to subscribe and turn on your notifications. Stories like this one move quickly, and we want you to have every piece of it as it emerges. It takes just a moment, and we genuinely appreciate every single person who subscribes. Now let's talk about what was happening in California while all of this was unfolding in London. Because while Harry was in the courts and in the palace corridors and absorbing blow after blow, Meghan Markle was doing something that those who follow her closely say tells you everything you need to know about the current reality of their situation. She was not with him. This requires some context. Because in previous court appearances, and Harry has had several over recent years, the optics of unity had always been carefully managed. The hand-holding, the unified front, the visual message of two people facing an unjust world together. That imagery was a deliberate and important part of the Sussex brand. In this trial, during the most damaging week of testimony, Meghan was not at his side. She was not in London. She was in Los Angeles. She was, according to multiple sources in the entertainment and business communities there, conducting solo meetings with wellness brands, lifestyle partners, and production contacts. Meetings that had nothing whatsoever to do with Harry's court case and everything to do with her own commercial future. This was not, people close to the situation are saying, an accident of scheduling. It was a strategy. The word being used in Meghan's professional circle in Hollywood, and it is a very specific word, used deliberately, is decoupling. Brand decoupling. The process by which one person, or one commercial entity, begins to separate their identity and their reputation from another with whom they have previously been closely associated. Meghan's team had, according to industry sources, begun insulating her commercial ventures from Harry's legal situation. Her lifestyle brand, her production interests, her separate financial holdings, all of them being carefully structured to ensure that the debt Harry was accumulating, both the money he had spent on the case and the money he was now expected to owe the Daily Mail, could not touch what was hers. The $59 million invoice that Harry sent to the palace was, for Meghan's advisors, a signal. Not of confidence or strategic boldness, but of desperation. Of a man who had run out of options and was reaching, in his panic, for something that was never going to come. And when desperation is the signal you are reading, the rational response is to create distance before the desperation becomes your problem too. One source, close to Meghan's California professional circle, put it plainly. They said, Meghan is a strategist. She reads the numbers. Harry's position had become a commercial liability that no streaming service and no serious brand partner wanted to be associated with. If he was going down for $59 million, her job was to make sure she was not going down with him. Throughout the most damaging days of testimony, the Burrows confession, the Rebecca English revelations, the days when Harry's confident predictions of victory were being replaced in real time by the language of collapse and crisis, Meghan was seen at business meetings in Los Angeles, smiling, composed, moving forward. While Harry paced the corridors of the Royal Courts of Justice alone. The House of Windsor has closed its doors. The law has delivered its verdict. The strategy has collapsed. What comes next for Prince Harry? How he manages the debt, where he finds the money, whether he and Meghan find a way through the distance that has opened between them in these past weeks. None of that is resolved yet. And we will be here, covering every development as it comes, with the depth and the honesty that this story requires. If you have stayed with us through the full story today, thank you. It genuinely means a great deal. This is the kind of story that rewards patience and attention. There are no simple villains here, and no easy conclusions. And we are grateful to every one of you who watches us properly, from beginning to end. If you are not yet subscribed, please do it now. Click the subscribe button and turn on your notifications. We are here every week with the royal stories that matter, told at the pace they deserve, for people who want to truly understand what is happening rather than simply be told what to feel about it. Leave us a comment below. Tell us what you think about what Harry has done. Tell us whether you feel sympathy for him, or frustration, or something more complicated than either of those things. We read every comment, and your thoughts shape the stories we bring you next. Thank you. We will see you in the next one.